All right, everyone, welcome back to Beneath the Helmet. I'm your host, Arjuna George, and this is Beneath the Helmet Season 2. Today, I got a chance to have a great conversation with two individuals, so you're in for a treat here. Both of the authors are going to be joining me today. Responders, Tale of Healing Resilience, Overcoming Tuesday is the book. Great book, highly recommended. As you can see, I've tabbed it and highlighted it all over the place. So today, I got a chance to sit down with Jim Burneka and his sister, who actually wrote this book on Jim's behalf, Hilary Hawkins. Jim Burneka is a former firefighter. He's also a wellness coordinator that he did in his last stint while he was working. He's a cancer survivor, podcast host, and now author. Jim's the podcast host of 25 Live podcast, which is his personal one, and also APS Radio, which is on fire engineering. So sit back, relax as we get to peek inside the creating of this book here and find out some details between talking to somebody who's not in the fire service, Hilary, as well as Jim, and getting the different perspectives there, which is very interesting. So I hope you enjoy this great conversation with the both of them, and be sure to check out this book and his podcast. And until next time, stay well.
It's time to ignite your soul and unlock your full potential. Join us on Beneath the Helmet, the podcast exploring firefighters' health and wellness. Hosted by retired fire chief Arjuna George, our podcast is the perfect place to start your journey towards becoming the best version of yourself. So come on, let's join the conversation and find out what sets your soul on fire.
All right, welcome back to Beneath the Helmet, everyone. Another great episode of Season 2 for you. I got both authors on the air today, Jim Burneka and Hilary Hawkins of Overcoming Tuesday. Jim is a former firefighter and now retired, an author and podcaster. And Hilary is actually a sister, which I just found out today. I did not know that. And she was also the one who helped co-author this awesome book to share with the world. So welcome to the stage and welcome to Beneath the Helmet.
Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you.
Fantastic. So I'm going to start with Hilary. Tell me a little bit about who Hilary is and kind of your story getting to where this book got published.
Okay. Well, I went to school in education. I taught for a couple years before I had my kids, and then I wanted to stay at home with my kids. I've always loved to write, and I actually co-authored a children's book a couple years ago. And when I heard my brother's story, I told him, I think that there's a story here. He said, absolutely not. I don't want to talk about it ever again. And I said, okay, well, if down the line you feel like maybe you want to talk about it, like let's do it. I'll help you write this. And it took maybe a year. Probably a year later, he said, hey, do you still want to do that thing? And I said, what thing? He was like, the book, like, do you still want to do that? And I was like, yes, if you're ready, yes, let's do it. So we just started jumping in and working on Overcoming Tuesday.
Awesome. And it came out in May, is that right?
May.
May, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to both of you for sure.
Thank you.
Jim, tell us a little bit about your story, just like your journey up till this point, and then we'll dive into some bigger things for sure.
Yeah, so, I just retired from the job last June, and I was 22 and a half years as a Dayton firefighter paramedic, and at the end there I was the wellness coordinator for the department, and I also did a lot of stuff with our union as well, the health and safety guy, peer support coordinator. And it was, for the longest time, I didn't really want to talk about all the stuff that I had throughout my career, and even before that, really. And then all I did, it seemed, was talk about it, especially at the end with all the different clinicians and going to the Center of Excellence in Maryland and all these different things. Like all I did was talk about it. So there was a point in which I was just absolutely done. I didn't talk about it. I said enough, like I was good. And then as that retirement happened, like I did kind of start thinking about should I put this out there? Should I say, put all this stuff out there? Because it wasn't really until I was retired did I feel actually really safe and saying a lot of stuff that would end up in a book. Um, and once, the retirement was done, the pension was secure, then it was like, all right, I got a lot of stuff to say. And I approached her about doing it again, like, hey, you really want to do this? Is this for sure you want to do this? And she was luckily still, interested in doing it. And the fact that I was now not working, and home, and she's been home, like we basically set it up to where when all the kids went back to school, that's when we were going to, and that's so about really just about a year ago is when we started meeting on Zoom or through phone calls, and I would just word vomit, you know, whatever story that we picked for that day, and she'd take all the notes and actually turn it into something that actually sounded like me, but a lot nicer, a lot nicer and more PG.
Yes. So how did this happen? Did you like narrate it to your sister, to Hillary, or like how did that happen?
So yeah, so the really in July of last year is where I kind of did my homework as far as making up an outline, like what stories are really what shaped me throughout my life. I mean, everything from childhood and growing up to the job and but life surrounding that as well. And um, one of the premises that I pitched to Hillary early on was I wanted to make sure like that if this was a book, I wanted it to be a book about my life, but I wanted to make sure that we had the resources attached to it. So I wanted to make it kind of like two books in one, where it was a resource guide, but told through my story. And that's kind of how I laid it out to her early on. And somehow, some way, I feel like we actually accomplished that. And I've had a lot of positive feedback saying, like, if somebody was dealing with an issue that I went through, they'd love that they could look right there and there's the guidance of what to do next. Like I put those, or we were able to put those breadcrumbs down for them, um, and make things easier for them. So, that was kind of the gist of what we wanted. But as far as writing the book, like I had this outline of probably 50 some different ideas,
Mhm.
essentially chapters. And I would just kind of pick off that list and dive in. And I know I threw her off at the beginning because I thought she kind of felt like I was going to start with the easy stuff.
I thought we would ease into it, and he started with probably like the most difficult chapter and was like, all right, we're not dipping our toes in, we're just jumping
Jumping
in.
right
And I
in.
was like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah.
So he would tell me the story, I would write notes, and then I would write the chapter and send it to him and then kind of say, is this accurate? Am I missing something? Do I need to take out something? So we would do the chapter back and forth like that until we were both happy with it.
Were you surprised at any of the stories that came up, or were you kind of pretty well informed about his history and his life?
I was surprised at probably 90% of the stories.
Oh,
Like a lot of them I had never heard before. Some of them I knew because I'm his sister. So
mhm,
obviously, like the growing up and that dynamic, I know, but a lot of the work stories I had never heard before.
mhm,
And they really caught me off guard. And I actually had to like, we would do this over Zoom. So I had to try to like make my face so it was like more neutral and not horrified.
mhm.
Because
Yes.
some of them in my head,
Yeah.
I was thinking like, "What? What?"
Mhm,
But, we come from, like, 2 different worlds. I taught preschool.
mhm,
Like, we sang about ABCs and colors, and he's talking about finding,
mhm.
dead bodies, and I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be difficult," but I tried really hard to not react, like, to visit not visibly react to him when he was telling me these stories because I didn't want him to stop, and I also didn't want him to think, like, I couldn't handle it, even
Right.
though some of them were really difficult to listen
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
because what is in the book is like kind of the sugar coated version. What he gave me was not sugar coated
Mhm.
by any means. So just not coming from a background like that, a lot of the things I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure like what we talked about, like that it was
Honest.
honest and just as uncomfortable as it was, just raw.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like this is the truth. This is how I felt. Um, and I didn't want to like I wanted to be as truly, I mean, you already said the word honest, but like truly paint the picture and be as honest as possible without necessarily like gory details, but like just that rawness that sometimes like isn't in, the books or the TV or whatever else.
Yeah.
And I know when I talked to her sometimes, there were some times in which we were able to do basically 3 or 4 chapters in a morning, like just boom, knock them out, knock them out. And there's sometimes where I did one and I was done. I was spent. Like I did that one and then it was like, I'm done. I gotta walk away and we'll be done to the next day. Like for the really some of the heavy chapters.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sheesh. Hillary, for not being in the fire service, but hearing all this, what's your what's your perspective and thoughts about the fire service right now? And you can be
Um,
totally honest and open because this is a platform that allows people to be, you know, tell the goods and the bads of the fire service, right?
so Jimmy does the firefighter cancer consulting. So I've always looked over his reports for that. So I'm a little bit familiar with that side of it just from doing his reports. I was not familiar with the side of like the different calls and runs that they have. So it was just really eye opening to me. I mean, first responders see the gory stuff, that they go through some hard times, but I guess I've never really sat down and thought about how it would affect them and then how that ripples into like their home life, their family. It affects everything. And I felt kind of bad because I was like, gosh, I didn't know you were going through this. I probably didn't support you very well because you don't know what you don't know. So I just have the utmost respect for every first responder. And I really pray that our book gets into the hands of people that need it so they know, like, hey, you're not alone. If you're struggling, so are so many other people. And here's some resources that can help you. And we tried to write it in a way that, like, you could hand this off to your mom or dad as a conversation starter. Like, and we've had people do that and say, like, I didn't know how to have this conversation. I gave them your book, and now they kind of have a different understanding. You know, you pull the curtain back. Now they kind of know what I go through on a daily basis at work.
I think that's so key. That's where a lot of my books have gone to the parents of firefighters across North America saying, hey, I don't understand what my son's going through, my daughter's going through. Let me paint a picture for me how this fire service thing works, right? So that's yeah, I agree. That's a
Right.
great resource for the family for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So overcoming Tuesday, for the listener right now who doesn't necessarily understand what that means, what's the story behind overcoming Tuesday?
Yeah, so it would have been going back to July of 22. I was asked to do a news or news report, like a live interview at one of our stations about the some of the wellness items that we were doing for the department and the peer support team. And I did this story and during that interview I talked about and I'm going to paraphrase myself, but I basically said um the typical citizen maybe has a couple traumatic events throughout their lifetime. For us, that's just another day. It's a Tuesday. And um the truth is during that time period, I mean, during that exact same time, I'm circling the drain. I'm having a lot of issues and I'm really hiding all of it. Um, I was supposed to be the guy that everybody came to for assistance. And I had a lot of shame and guilt with the fact that I was having my own issues and couldn't even take care of myself. And, I was really just concerned about how it would look, the optics of if I went away, if I went and got help. And so I just internalized everything. And it really, until I imploded just the next month, and ended up going away and went to the um, IFF Center of Excellence in Maryland and went there for 40 days. So, um, but that during that time, she kind of, she saw that interview and it just really kind of struck a chord with her.
Yeah, it resonated with me.
And
You're
take
kind
it.
of rambling though. You're not even answering his question.
I was setting it up for you.
No, you're rambling. He does that sometimes.
All good, all
Okay.
good.
We kind of labeled like trauma as Tuesday.
He's head shaking
So
right now. If you're just listening to this, he's shaking his head.
so I mean, we're brother and sister, so we definitely bicker. Okay, so we labeled Tuesday as just a trauma. So when we're saying you're overcoming Tuesday, it doesn't have to be in the fire service. It doesn't have to be first responder. It could be you have an illness. It could be you lost your job. It could be you just lost a loved one. Anything. We just were like, well, that's Tuesday, so that's what we're going to call it. So overcoming Tuesday is really overcoming any adversity that you're facing in your life.
Love it.
It's the
And
short
that just
version.
and that just popped into your head during the interview, or were you already saying that as a phrase prior to that?
And that's what I was leading it up to. When I was gone, you actually wrote like a song poem
Yeah.
regarding that. Like, so that interview really resonated with you.
Yeah.
And then so when it came time to really, like, what were we going to call this thing? Like, that kind of stuck out. I had other names in mind that were not PG that she didn't go for.
Mhm.
But
Not even close.
Not
not even
kindergarten
close.
worthy.
But do what?
Not kindergarten worthy.
Not even first or second grade.
Not even teenager worthy. Let's be honest.
Yes.
But that, the Overcoming Tuesday, that rung a bell. And I think we just kind of ran with that.
I love it. Yeah. So what was the key kind of turning point that you said, screw this, I'm going to be vulnerable, I'm going to be open, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to share this with the world? Was there a moment in time? Was there something that happened that said, all right, now's the time?
When I had internalized and stuffed down so much for decades and decades and decades, and I realized, like, where did that get me? That got me away from home for 40 days. It had me, you know, considering killing myself. I mean, all this stuff. And like, I realized really when I was gone that keeping stuffing that stuff down was not the answer. And I realized, like, I was already at that point when I got there. I was definitely broken, and I realized what I had been doing wasn't working. So I was open for anything. And that meant really, for the first time, really, really talking about this stuff, putting it all out there, not leaving anything, and really just start that healing. And so it was kind of a practice in Maryland when I was at the Center of Excellence, but it just kind of continued because it's not like I finished the Center of Excellence and I was magically better. Or I was better, but I wasn't where I needed to be. So this this has continued throughout the years to just continue to talk about this stuff, to continue to process, to continue to work through it. And that just honest and open and that uncomfortable just truth. Um, that vulnerability, just to show that it's not a weakness. That's kind of been the flag that I've been really waving since that time.
Agree more. Yeah, it's a very tough thing to start, but once you do it, what a freeing feeling it is to be vulnerable, open, honest, 100% tell your story with, open book kind of thing, right? So, Yeah, I love that. Something near and dear to my heart is organizational betrayal and moral injury. And I know you talk about that in your book. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you. You don't have to go into too much detail about the situations per se, but like what is moral injury or betrayal in your opinion, and how did it affect you as a first responder or as a person?
Yeah. So, you know, when you, it's as simple as far as betrayal goes, you give and you give and you give into the organization, and it's just not reciprocated.
Mm.
And for me, like, I knew that I was, and this is going to sound like a lot of ego, I get that, but like, I knew that I was the best thing going for my members. Like, I was their advocate. I was the one standing up for them. I was the one fighting for them. I was the one that cared. And my job, where it may have been a 40-hour job, it was an every hour job. Like, it didn't stop. Like, I mean, we're 300 plus members, and they are overworked, underappreciated, and like, I was their advocate. And so when I got taken away from that, like, I really, um, I felt for them. I still feel for them. And it just, to deny the good that I was doing, and basically throw me away because I was, um, persistent, and maybe, well, yeah, I was a headache. I'm sure I didn't make things easy on management, but my intentions were always good and always for the betterment of my members. And I mean, it's just weird how all that stuff went. It kind of was like, I mean, it's just sad, really. Like, really, out of an order of convenience, they got rid of me, and they were more concerned about, um just avoiding me than actually taking care of their own members. That's how I took it, and that's still how I take it. The moral injury is simply, I mean, it's kind of built onto that as well. As I know what I was doing was the right thing, and to be taken away from that absolutely went against my ethics and morals, and I went away kicking and screaming. But at that point, there was nothing I could do, and at some point too, it became, you can't worry about everybody else. At this point, you have enough issues going on that you got to save yourself. And that meant really getting out, leaving all those people behind. And I mean, I still carry that with me today, that they're not being taken care of, they're not being looked after. Um, I was I was made for that job, and to take that away, it's always going to be sad to me.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Well, in chapter 38, there's a quote in there that kind of really hit hard for me was, I don't have time to help you. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Uh, I mean, mm, that
That
was
was his breaking point.
that was
Yeah.
like, that was the perfect storm of everything happening all at once, all at the same time, and me actually asking for help, and being denied, being told like, I don't have time. And I'm not sure if he even took it in that way. I don't know, but like, that time, I know how I took it. I took it as, you know, you don't give a shit, and um you're on your own. And that was, I mean, that was the night that it almost ended for me. So that was a contributing factor to that, and obviously luckily that didn't happen. But man, it definitely, it stung at the time. It still, I think, stings, and I've been able to talk, and talk things out, and we're cool now. We're on the same page. But that definitely negatively affected me for a long time, because again, like, you put all that time, all those years, you know, I think part of the problem too is I knew how bad off my members were, but it's not something that, it's not like I can say names or incidents. Like, everything is secretive because it's in this peer support world where everything's confidential. So I really had a tough time truly describing how bad things were. And I always felt like, and I know this isn't right, but if you had names attached to the problems, it would have been perceived much differently than just, you know, random person, if that makes sense.
Yep, 100%. Do you see any difference in the organization since you left, or any progress whatsoever?
You know, I see them trying. I know they want to do well. I know they want to take care of their people. Um, we got a new chief now who um does have a much more, I think, positive attitude and is really working on boosting the morale. Um, I had wrote a grant that actually paid for my position for a couple years and a few other wellness items. They've tried to implement that. They haven't been able to keep somebody in my position um, due to retirements or whatever else. People get another jobs. So I don't think they've had necessarily the same person that had the passion that I had that was kind of waving that flag. Um, but no, I feel like they're trying. I think it'll be interesting come January 2025 because that's when that grant money runs out. And we'll see if, like, if the wellness coordinator, we're doing the checkups from the neck up, like, we'll see if they continue to fund them out of their own budget, you know, when that grant money isn't there. I mean, I think that'll be the kind of telltale sign of um, do they really care or not? You know, or did they just do this because it was convenient and then they had free money for a couple of years?
Tell us a little bit about that position, because I'm sure that's not a generic position in most organizations. It's not a standard position. I've heard of it. There's definitely departments out there that are fully supporting that wellness coordinator position, but tell us a little bit about your position and how it helped the members more than anything.
You know, so um, I got the gig, and I actually got asked to do the gig after my cancer diagnosis, and it was a brand new position. And with any brand new position, it's kind of what you want to make it. And so I mean, from the start, I'll tell you, from the beginning, it was actually pretty good. I would say I had about a 6 month honeymoon phase before things went sideways. But in that first 6 months, it was I had a lot of freedom. Like, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And the way I went about it is I wanted my members' feedback. Like, I didn't want to just say this is what we need to work on or this is what we want to work on. I wanted to actually have some information coming from them and then go off of that information. So actually, the first thing I did was I created a wellness survey. And I went around crew to crew, station to station. I took the crews out of this and they filled out this anonymous survey. And I just told them, look, just be honest. Like, nobody's going to know it's from you. Don't hold back. Tell me the truth. And when I got that survey was my roadmap for what I was going to work on. I mean, this is coming from the members. So there was really, I mean, three main things that were of concern that I wanted to work on right away. So the first one was suicide. Like, that survey showed so many of those members were contemplating suicide at a pretty regular basis. And the numbers were so extreme that I mean, it was terrifying to think that, like, that this is that bad. So I knew that that suicide was a big thing. The other behavioral health was there was a lot of guys with anxiety, depression, um, and just needed to get in front of really a clinician and start working on those things, and especially working on them early on before they amount to something else where they start numbing one way or the other. And then the third thing was just sleep, the lack of sleep. And it wasn't just at the firehouse, but it was also just their sleep habits and their sleep hygiene at home. Like they were really um, having a hard time dealing with that. So really, if all three of those things, I mean, that was my roadmap, and those I just started working right away on doing different trainings, on bringing in different people, sleep experts. I mean, different, kind of laid it out to where our local hospitals are and how to do a sleep test. I mean, I laid out all that kind of stuff and just tried to make it as easy as possible, to um, get that assistance with whatever was going on.
Yeah, I think it's such a key critical role that fire services across North America and the world have to take into consideration. It
So
has to
there
be
was
part of just as a fire prevention officer or a training officer.
So there was, I mean, when you're looking about wellness, there's so many different things that encompasses that. I mean, the fitness, exercise, nutrition, sleep. I mean, all those different things I was starting to work on as well, and to, just better things. But I knew with that survey, it really helped me prioritize. Like if I would have been in there longer, I would have obviously worked on a lot more stuff. Because the role in that position should just be trying to make everything better for that firefighter. Whatever you can do to help them to get through that career, um, have a healthy career, but also get to the other side where they can enjoy that retirement. Like I know a lot of people thought that when I got in that position that I would be all about cancer, because that was really my background into wellness. How I got involved was with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. But I never even got to that point where I was going to be working on that stuff because, I mean, especially that suicide was so overwhelming that all that other stuff had to wait until I could get to it.
Mhm. Scary that that was such a big number. Yeah, it's yeah, that's a tough one across North America. That's growing numbers every single day, right? So I'm gonna jump over to Hilary for a second, and I know you don't live in the same town as Jim, but what did you see in Jim changing over the years that maybe brought some concern to you, or just difference in how Jim showed up in life? Any things that you saw from the outside?
And to be honest, I didn't really know that he was struggling as much as he
Mm.
was. He hid it kind of from all of us, which was alarming because we've always been close. We've always talked a lot, and I didn't really clock that there was like a big issue. Like I knew he was frustrated. I knew that he was, angry with some things, but I really didn't have any idea like how bad it was. I will say over the years he definitely got jaded towards certain things, wouldn't really face him that I would be like, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible," and just think it was awful, and he'd be like, whatever, and it just wouldn't really face him the way that it should have. And it's just, if everything faced him, he wouldn't have been able to do his job. It's pretty much like a defense mechanism to be able to go into the situations that he went into. So he definitely got a little bit hardened over time. But as far as like his mental health decline, I didn't even know until it was already so bad. And then I was trying to figure out, it didn't make sense. And then I was just trying to like grasp for straws and trying to understand what happened, what went wrong, and like how did I miss this?
It's so tricky, isn't it? Because I know for myself, my wife was saying the same thing about my well being. It's like I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, pretty good at hiding it. I think that's what we're good at. We're good at hiding it. Thanks
And
for
you
that,
guys
Hilary.
have to an extent,
Yeah, we
for
have
you to
to,
be able to do your job.
for sure, 100%.
I know.
But you can only do that for so long.
I
Mm.
came out of my time in Maryland, and I owed a lot of people apologies because I wasn't being honest with them. I was I realized when I was there that some like people like you and
Mhm.
other friends were like, what did I miss?
Yeah.
Like how did I miss that this was going on? Like I just had lunch with him. Like what, I had no idea. And it wasn't their fault. Like I was just really good at hiding it. I joke and I say somebody give me an Oscar. Like I did that for months upon months. And so when I came out, I realized that I had duped a lot of people, and they had been beating themselves over it, and I owed them an apology. Um, so that definitely sucked.
No kidding. What were you experiencing? So if people weren't seeing on the outside, what were you feeling on the inside?
Just turmoil, just inner turmoil. And I was, I know everybody deals with this kind of stuff differently. I, it was actually that day that you talked about when my boss told me that he didn't have time. I could tell you that night is when the voices started. And people out there who haven't had the voices, good for you. I'm glad. I hope it stays away. But like that's a real thing. And I didn't really know if I believed it or not until I started having them. And, in order to avoid that inner dialogue, which wasn't good, like I kept myself busy at all times. I was doing something because the moment that I had nothing going on is when they would show up. So for those months, like I wasn't sleeping. I was up late. I was up and then waking up early. I was going to work, working a ton of hours, just avoiding, absolutely avoiding any type of stillness at all.
Stillness, quietness, that's where everything starts talking, like you said there, right? So, yeah. So, what were some of the tools that you've kind of developed over the last, well, not very long, honestly, year, um, that's kind of making you start to thrive again and live life how Jim wants to live life?
Oh, I mean, the first thing probably is talking about it. Just no longer internalizing things and just getting it all out there. Um, I've went through so many different programs over the years, and I continue to talk about it, um, with clinicians or the shows or whatever else. Like, just again, getting it all out there. But along with that too, like, I think people hold me more accountable now too. Like people are almost suspicious, like and it took me a minute to kind of realize this, but hey, I'm a generally honest dude, but I was very dishonest for a long time and led people to think that I was okay when I wasn't. And so now, when somebody asks me how I'm doing and I say I'm good, a lot of times they'll go, really? Are you really, or you just saying that? And I kind of realized it was my own actions that caused that distrust, and that I have to continually prove them that I am okay. And more than anything with my actions, and also just talking about it. But um I know I'm rambling. She's looking at me like, keep
He
going.
rambles so bad.
Well, it resonates with me because that's how I am now. And ironically, when people tell me or ask me how I'm doing, my automatic reaction used to be doing great, awesome, fantastic, whatever that is. And now it's like sometimes I'm actually, nah, today's not a great day. I would never have
Yes.
said that 5 years ago, 2 years ago.
Yes. And
But
then
now I'm like,
when I say
yeah,
that to somebody
yeah.
and they were just expecting me to say I'm good and then I unload on
Mhm.
them, like,
They're like, oh, what did
Yes,
I do?
oh,
yes.
yeah. And
I
I'm
gotta
like,
go. See
you
ya.
asked me, and I'm telling you,
Yep.
I
Yep.
feel comfortable enough to tell you. I did that to somebody just like a week and a half ago, and uh, but it was a good thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely like I have my own accountability, but there's a lot of people that also are like keep me accountable as well. I've got people that check in on me. I got people that I check in on as well. And then it's just now a matter of taking care of myself. Um, like I'm just trying to refocus, especially now that, this week my boys went back to school. So like there really is no excuse. I have plenty of time during the day to just work on me. And that means meditating. That means working out, trying to get back into that. Um, you know, um, including my faith and more things. Trying to build that. And just again, more than anything, I've the best thing I've been doing is just talking about this stuff. And I think by doing that, the more and more, and it's not just me, it's you, it's everybody out there that's talking about this stuff. This used to be so taboo. We would never have these type of conversations when you and I started. And now they're starting to kind of normalize because of all of us talking about it and making this just kind of a regular type of thing. And I'm hopeful for the next generation that's coming on now or after us that they're actually going to be able to talk about this and they'll never get hopefully to that point in which we did.
100%. Hilary, what do you think Jim's taught you? Well, Jim's journey has taught you about your own self care, your own wellness. Anything you want to share
Well,
there?
one thing that I learned was that I think when he went away for the 40 days, I can't speak for other people. I thought he was going to come back better, like
Mhm.
fixed. Like if your car's broken, you take it to the mechanic and you get it back and it's as good as new. Mental health is not, it's not a quick fix. It's a journey, it's a process. And I thought he was going to come home like normal. Um, but he came home a better version of himself starting on a journey. Like I thought this was going to be the end. You're going to be great. And it was like, no, I've actually just started this journey and it's probably going to go on forever and sometimes he's going to, and this goes for everybody. You're going to take a couple steps forward, a couple steps back and try and stay on track. So I think that's really made me more aware of other people too when they go through a hard time. Like you don't just wake up better one day.
No, that's a
It's
great way
It,
to
it's
think about
such
it.
a slow
Mhm.
process and that's okay. And it's not a linear process. It's not like, and that was with our book why it was kind of hard to try to figure out like how to sequence it because it was just like up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's life though. I mean, life is not linear. It doesn't make sense and it can be really hard sometimes.
Yep. And that's how we grow in our resilience as well as those challenges that we have to face and overcome,
Right.
right? For sure. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for sharing that. You talked in your book, I'm all about holistic and kind of outside of the box therapy. And you talked about see if I can say this right, Stellate Ganglion Block, SGB.
yes.
I've heard of it. Tell our listener today what that is and how it supported you in your journey.
Yeah. So the stellate ganglion block, SGB, it was crazy. It's kind of crazy. The first time that it came uh on my radar, it actually came like twice the same day from different people. It was very bizarre. So it was kind of like, this is a
Meant to
sign. You
happen.
should check this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the first guy who messaged me said like he was seeing things in color for the first time. And I was like, well, all right, I'm intrigued. Let's learn some more about this. And what it is it's something that the military figured out. And what they were doing is they were actually sticking a needle in their serviceman's neck into a nerve and blocking that nerve, and that was helping out with like chronic back pain. So they realized that they can relieve some of these chronic pain issues by doing that nerve block. But they also, as kind of like a side effect, they realized, hey, like this is actually tampering down, excuse me, the PTS signs and symptoms as well. And so the more they looked into it, they realized that, hey, this actually can help our servicemen out. And so they've kind of moved that into the civilian world, and it's still pretty early on in that. But you can do the left side, you can do the right side of your neck. Um, some people use X-ray, others use an ultrasound to make sure they're in the right spot. And yeah, it's not a painful really procedure. It's they do they numb it, and then they stick the needle and you don't even feel it. They throw that block in there, and sometimes it lasts for a couple months, sometimes it's a couple years, but it works on about 80% of the people that do it. So they were actually doing it at the Center of Excellence, where they would actually load people up into a van every week, and they'd go off site. They'd pay $600 and they'd get it done. And I could see like right then and there, like as they were getting off the van, like the ones that it worked and the ones that it didn't. Because the ones that it worked, they were floating on air. Like they
Oh, yeah.
felt like you
Wow.
could tell like the weight of the world had been lifted.
Hmm.
And then the ones where it didn't work are kind of their heads are down and they're like, it didn't take.
Hmm.
And that was kind of for me. I was unfortunately the 20%. Like it didn't really take. I felt a little bit relief, but it went away in a day or two.
Hmm.
So, but it didn't work for me. That's okay. I saw it firsthand. It worked for a lot of other people, and that's why I think it's important to put it out there because, I mean, 80%, those are good odds. I'll take those odds for about anything,
100%.
and if you can get relief, and even if it's for a couple months, like just a couple months without dealing with all that stuff, without having those burdens and the heaviness that goes along, I mean, that's a nice break.
Well, a nice break to see some clarity maybe in what you need to do next, right? To get out of the challenge that you're facing, right? So sometimes you need that little break just to be able to think more clearly, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. For myself, hobbies was something that I forgot a lot about in my fire service career. I had lots of hobbies prior to the fire service, and they all just kind of fizzled out. I was too busy, too busy, too busy. But I saw in your book, one of your big hobbies is pyrography. Is that how you say it? Pyrography?
Pyrography. Yes.
Pyrography. And that's pretty intriguing to me. So tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do. Is
I
that
kind
for
of
your
like
own kind of wellness? Is that like a hobby that makes you just kind of focus and mindful and yeah.
exactly like I was just like you. Like I realized I had lots of hobbies. I used to do lots of things and they kind of just went away. And also I realized a lot of those hobbies and stuff were more social things and a lot of drinking as well. And that's I haven't been drinking, now for 3.5 years. So like I realized I wanted to do something that I could just do here at home. I could do it by myself and I could just kind of escape and just focus on something. And it was also like I'll tell you the first thing that I really thought of when I was like, I want to do a hobby, forged in fire. Like I was like, I I want to make knives. I want to make big
Yeah.
ass swords, like
Yeah.
whatever. And then I just realized I realized how truly expensive that hobby is to start.
Yes.
And that's when I was like, all right, I need to find an alternative. And that's when I came upon this wood burning. That's what pyrography is just wood burning. Um, and it is, again, it's just something that it's an easy hobby that's cheap to get into, and
Love it.
it's just a matter of, I mean, you go on Amazon and wait, we should be boycotting Amazon kind of, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Them a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get into that probably, but um
Well, is
you,
there a
you
story
basically
here?
just get a pen essentially that gets
Yeah.
heated up, and you can just draw into wood, and
Mhm.
it's been really cool. Like all I really do now is I just make little plaques and different designs, and I give them to people for retirement or whatever else. Like, I mean, I don't really do anything for me. It's all
Yeah.
spending time, and it's kind of a cool personalized gift,
Mhm.
from me.
Yeah. Well, doing it is for you. The act of
Yes,
doing it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just being able to say like, wow, I created that. That's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
Um, is good, because I haven't been, uh, my mother would tell you that I was good in art, but that was like at second grade. And then it all went downhill. So,
Yes. Love it. So this is a question I've been asking pretty much all my guests this year is what does Jim and what does Hilary need more support of in right now in your lives? Where could you have some more support in your life that would help you thrive even more than you are already? Maybe I'll start with Hilary.
oh, that's good, because then you give me time to think.
Gosh, I really don't know. Um,
Like elements of your life that you're just like, I could use some more support in this area, some more knowledge, some more support, some more whatever that looks like. Make your
I
life just a little bit better.
I feel like I have a pretty good support system. Like
Nice.
I feel pretty supportive. Knowledge, yes, I can always get more knowledge. There's a lot of things that I want to learn about. Um, but I honestly, I'm really lucky. I've got like a pretty great support system
Great to hear.
between my family and my husband's family and friends. I just feel very lucky. I don't know.
Love it.
Sorry, I don't have a great
Oh, that's
answer for
beautiful.
that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I think that shows to the listener that how important that stuff is. That connection with humans, that connection with family, friends, just reinforces how important that is, right?
Well, and also too, we make going to church like a priority because I think it's so important to be around like-minded people. And there's just something about like when you're a room and everybody is just opening their heart and just worshiping God, and like it's not all on your shoulders. You know that like when you need help, like you pray about it and it's not for you to like carry all those burdens, which is something I've been trying to get this one to do, and just say like you weren't built for all these burdens. Like you sometimes have to be broken down before you understand, like you're supposed to lean on God in your weaknesses, and that's where you draw your strength from, not like your human self, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. If that works for you, that works for you, right? That's the key, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. All right,
I mean,
Jim.
I talked earlier about just people holding me accountable,
Mm.
and I kind of do that. I think of probably the best example is I don't know if you know this guy or not, but he's such an awesome dude. You know Aaron Zamzow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So he's the guy I unloaded on about a week and a half ago,
Oh yeah.
and he was like, he's been doing this 5 for 50,
Mm.
which the idea is you pick out 5 things that you want to work on, and you do those for 50 days.
Mhm.
And I actually upped it. I said, let's do 6 for 60. And the 60 days ends like right before our conference in Beaver Creek. So I picked out 6 things that I want to work on. And we've talked a little bit about that, making sure I work out every day, walk the dog, meditate every day, pray. I got no more pop or soda. Do you call it pop or soda?
Pop.
Pop. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's right. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So, and then what, in Texas they call everyththing Pepsi, right? Or
Everything's
Coke.
Pepsi.
It's a Coke.
In Georgia.
Georgia, it's a Coke. Whatever. And but no, Aaron is keeping me kind of accountable and making sure that I'm working on all those stuff to try to make things better for me. And if
Mm.
and I realize too, if I'm taking care of myself, it's going to take care of everybody else around me.
Mm.
And he's also doing it. He listed his 6 things too that he's going to be doing. So it goes both ways with us, which is
Love it.
actually been really cool.
How do you keep track of that? Do you have a journal, or you just say that today was a
I'm
good
a
day?
I'm a nerd. I actually made a spreadsheet where I have every day listed in all the
Nice,
6 things, and I basically go in and exit out as I do them.
nice.
Yes.
As a coach, I use that kind of strategy very often with my clients and just kind of helping them build that momentum, that routine, that habit. How do you reward yourself when you do 60 in a row or even 10 in a row? Is there something that you do to reward yourself?
I know he has a challenge coin that he owes me.
Mhm.
Um, and as much as I do like challenge coins, it's not obviously the reason I did it.
Mhm.
I think just the whole idea is you do those, you get used to them, they become part of your routine, and you're able to keep those going.
Yep.
And that's my hope, is that I can get those, but I get so used to them, and I want to keep doing them.
Mhm.
And because they're all healthy, it's not like I picked 6 bad habits. It's like it's stuff that I
Yes.
want to really not just do right now, but continue to do. And
Yeah.
and really my lifestyle, like the opportunity I have now, like it lends that.
Mhm.
Like I have the time to really take care of myself.
Yep.
Whereas before, everybody came before me. And I
Mhm.
mean everybody. And I mean, you see where that got me.
Mhm.
I don't want to go back.
Yep.
It's just I do not want to go back.
Nothing but forward,
Not that
brother.
it was a bad time the
Yep.
first time, but
Mhm.
I'm good.
Mhm. So, Hillary, what would be one thing that you would feel bad about not sharing with the world today in this podcast? Something that's like, you didn't say this, you would be, should have said this. Is there something that comes to mind that you want to share with everyone listening right now?
I guess if we're kind of focusing on, things around the book, that I would just say that no matter where you are, no matter how bad it is, like, don't give up, and there's always hope that it will get better. Like, even when it's so hopeless, like, it will get better. The storm can't last forever, and just hang in there. And I know that, I mean, he could tell you he just felt hopeless, but now he's using his pain for purpose and helping other people and be who he needed. So I would say just hang in there. It will get better.
Aim for purpose. That's a great quote. Mhm. How about you, Jim? What would you hate to not share with the world today?
I mean, I feel like the point she made is valid. And I would even expand on that, because I would say, as turbulent as things were, as dark as they were, you know, with a little bit of time and a lot of hard work, like you can dig yourself out of whatever hole you're in. And once you get out, it's so much better. Like it is, like I didn't realize it then, but I definitely realize now how fortunate I am, and I'm just so grateful for how things ultimately turned out. Like, it could have been a bad ending, but it wasn't. It was a good ending, and it continues to be a good ending. And I just have this opportunity now to do so much more, and just have it be meaningful. And so I mean, I guess the gist of it is, no matter where you're at right now, and if it is in a dark place, like, just got to keep going to the light, as far away as it may be, because it's going to be worth it when you get there. And you can look back, all that stuff you went through, it just really made you who you are now, and you're stronger, you're better for it. Like that resiliency, is going to come from digging yourself out of that hole. So, the whole thing, I mean, if I had to say one word for what the book encompasses, and really what I feel like now is simple. It's hope. As long as you have hope, you're going to be okay.
Very interesting you said that, because that was the word that kept popping in my mind while you're speaking. Hope, hope, hope. That was the word that was in my
Yep.
mind at the exact same time. Yeah. Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about how people can get a hold of this awesome book that I've tabbed all up and everything and highlighted to
Man.
death.
I love that you tabbed it like that. That's
Oh yes,
awesome.
yes, lots of tabs. Where's the
I
camera?
love
There it
that.
is.
It
Um,
is available on Amazon.com.
yes.
I think you can get on BarnesandNobles.com too. Um, but it is online right now on Amazon. I know it's the Kindle paperback and hardcover. I'm going to be hopefully next week. I'm going to be hopefully starting to record the Audible version now that the boys are in school. So
Yes.
I'm not
You're
sure
doing that
how long
yourself.
that'll take, but that's gonna be one of my priorities to knock that out and get that out
Awesome.
with yeah, that's it really.
Mhm.
Amazon. And make
And your
sure you
website.
buy the Overcoming Tuesday and not the fake book that's on there.
Yeah. So what's this fake book? Tell us all about that.
Oh, this fake book. What a
Maybe like
nightmare.
the short version
The
of
short
it.
this very short version.
Yeah.
Somebody made a fake book about me, and I think they took basically what we wrote and threw it in some AI machine, and then did a self-publishing with Amazon through the
Wow.
KDP. So the odd thing is, like when you go down the rabbit hole, like it was the author. Like I actually was able to kind of figure out who this guy was, and he died in 2016. So whoever wrote this
Interesting.
book, they didn't have my permission. And they basically stole my identity, and they stole this other guy's identity who's been dead.
Wow.
And it's still on Amazon. You can still buy it today. Like I cannot get them to take it off. It's gotten to the point where I'm gonna have to hire an attorney, and I don't know if it's really even just worth it because, like, again, like, who even knows what country this person's from? They're probably Canadian.
Easy
I'm
now.
kidding.
Easy. We're too
I'm
nice.
kidding.
We're too nice up here to do that.
Hey now. Whoa.
I'm kidding. But yeah, so that's and it's not like I'm an Amazon bestseller. I'm not a New York Times bestseller. Like it's not like I'm J.K. Rowling or something.
Yeah.
Why pick me? It's so bizarre.
I wonder how many times that happens to other authors out there. That's the first time I've ever
And
heard
I
of that.
think it happens more often than we know.
Yeah,
Because I've
probably.
had other people come up to me and tell me like, "Hey,
Hmm.
they made a workbook off of my book," or
Wow.
little silly stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it's
Wow.
and dealing with Amazon like has been a nightmare because here's the deal in their fraud department, like apparently don't have phones. Like they only answer by email, and when they answer by email, they don't even sign their name. They just sign it Amazon.
Hmm.
Like it's like the way they do business. I'm like, I want a job there where there's no accountability, nothing.
Probably not a human.
No. Well, no, and then, like I joked. I think we were on a phone call with them, a supervisor, and the supervisor's like, I can't even call them. I have to send an email, and I'm like, do you know where they? I know where they can buy phones. Amazon.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
So,
don't know.
Jim, where are you going to be in the next couple of months? I know you got the Ohio beaver. That's the most paradise place on earth. Is that right?
Oh yes. We got our conference coming up,
Yes.
exotic
Exotic.
beaver
Yes.
creek.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So my buddy Nick and I from Brothers Helping Brothers, this is going to be our seventh annual Firefighter Health and Wellness Conference, and it's going to take place October 16th through 18th, and it's tons of great speakers that are coming, and Frank Lieb, just I mean amazing people, and it's super affordable. I mean, it's for 2.5 days. It's $75 American. So
Can't beat that.
it's
American.
Well, he's from Canada. That's what,
It's like
I don't know
500
what it
bucks
is. I have to
Canadian.
get on Google to do the CAD to USD. So, but I mean, we have people from Canada come down. Like they make the trek because they realize like the quality of the speakers with how cheap it is. Like, why not? It's great. So the
Awesome.
website is, and this is a real website. It's not going to kick. It may get you kicked out of work, but it's not a naughty site. It's exoticbeavercreek.com
Yes, I love it.
for that.
Yeah.
And this year is pro wrestling themed. Every year we do a different theme. And so it's pro wrestling, and we're going to actually have the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, there as well. He's the guest MC,
No
and
way.
he's going to run the picture booth.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, we are ridiculous.
In a good way.
You can't give Nick and I like freedom,
Free
because
reign.
we're going to
No.
just brainstorm and come up with stupid stuff. That's what we
True.
do.
It's true. It's fun though.
Yes. So how can people get a hold of you, Hilary, if they want to connect with you for any regarding the book or anything else? Any way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. And my handle is Hilary Leah Hawkins.
Awesome. And you have a website for the book as well?
Yes, we do. Overcomingtuesday.com.
Awesome. Well, it's been a real honor and privilege to connect with both of you today, and I feel very blessed to have both of you on here today. That's kind of a nice little treat. I kind of wanted to finish with this quote when I was reading the book that I just kind of resonated with me is, I no longer run into burning buildings, but now I'm fighting to reignite the flame that has gone dim within myself. I thought that was a pretty powerful quote from your book. So kudos to you for all the hard work you did,
That was actually
Jim.
all her. That was all her. I wouldn't have said anything that nice and that fancy, that eloquent.
Well, there you go. Well done, Hilary. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes,
Thanks for taking the time and reading the book. And
oh yeah, you betcha.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
Yes, and I love your little QR fellow here too.
Oh yes.
He's so ridiculous.
I am ridiculous. I have a challenge coin of that now. Actually.
That's awesome.
I just got those, so I'm
Fantastic.
marketing down on my ridiculousness.
Oh, that's what keeps it lively and fun, right?
Between her and my wife, like the amount of head shakes that I get in a day.
I don't know.
Crickets.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yes. Well, thank you both very much. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and thanks for putting this book out there into the world. Much appreciated. So
thank you.
Everyone, hope you enjoy this great episode, and be sure to check out this book. Until next time, stay well.
Thank you for tuning in to Beneath the Helmet. We hope that this podcast has provided you with valuable insights into the world of firefighters' health and wellness. Remember, caring for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being is crucial to achieving optimal performance. Join us next time on Beneath the Helmet for more inspiring conversations. Until then, stay well.